From Supermassive Games, the maker of popular horror game Until Dawn, comes the first installment of the Dark Pictures Anthology, Man of Medan. Can this game live up to the success of their previous work, or will this be their first and final chapter in their newer series? The game starts off with a prologue chapter set in post-World War II China, where the player assumes control of an American soldier on board the Orang Medan on its voyage across the Pacific. Waking up in the medical bay, after a brief altercation with another soldier, he explores the almost desolate ship, discovering that most of the crew have met a grisly death. Venturing into the bowels of the ship, he too meets an untimely death after witnessing something supernatural. 70 years later, a group of friends hire a captain to take them deep-sea diving. After unearthing a clue from a bygone time, the friends find themselves aboard the abandoned freighter. They must solve the mystery of the ship before they succumb to the same fate. During the game, you are often taken out of the experience and instead sat in a room with a man called the Curator, played by the actor Pip Torrens. He essentially acts as the host of the Dark Pictures Anthology and is recounting the events of what happened, with the player filling in the missing details. Like Until Dawn's The Analyst, he often breaks the fourth wall and will comment on how the player is doing, offering hints about the game's plot if required. I liked the Curator as a character, and thought that his performance was well done. To improve, I would have liked for the game to incorporate the feature from Until Dawn, where you would be quizzed and your answers would have impacted aspects of the main experience. More to do while in the repository would have benefited the game, but nonetheless I hope to see more of his cryptic appearances in future installments. Overall, I like the premise of the game and how it begins, but I was left a little disappointed by the end. The game's plot is meant to be a mystery, and you're meant to discover what has caused the ship to be abandoned throughout the game. This is primarily done by reading all the clues and secrets that are dotted around the boat, detailing the events that led up to the ship's disappearance. I thought that the story was going to go one way, but around the halfway point, I had realised what actually happened. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who wants to play it, but I was admittedly left a little disappointed. Half the time, you are controlling the character by walking around an area and looking around for little glimmers that indicate objects that can be interacted with. As previously mentioned, picking up certain objects will provide you some backstory about the crew on the boat. Venturing into different rooms can sometimes trigger jump scares or creepy images to appear. I thought that the game does a great job of creating a haunted, eerie atmosphere, and most of the scares were pretty effective. For instance, as Conrad, I walked into a room and noticed a woman mysteriously appearing in the foreground just before the camera transitioned. It's subtle, and you could easily miss it, but those scares often left me the most anxious. On the other hand, I thought that the controls for walking around with the characters were clunky, and sometimes a struggle, as they would often either get stuck on a wall or would go in the wrong direction due to a camera change. Furthermore, I thought there would be more of a risk to exploring areas off the beaten path. In Until Dawn, there is a moment where you can investigate a noise or catch up with the group. Ill-informed people who chose to investigate the noise would end up getting that character killed, and I wish there was more moments like that, moments that test your knowledge of the lore. The other half of the gameplay is in cutscenes, where you make decisions for the selected character. This is akin to Until Dawn, where a character will ask you something, and a couple of dialogue options pop up. Depending on what you say or don't say, as there is always an option to say or do nothing, can change how good of a relationship you have with the others, and what traits your character has. For instance, these can be things like humorous or eager. Different events will play out depending on your decisions, and you'll have a brief window of time to choose an option. Having a timer on these moments makes you think quickly and think about the repercussions of your actions. Some might not be obvious at first, so viewing the paintings that give you a glimpse of possible futures will be invaluable. Acting identical to the totem mechanic from Until Dawn, it encourages you to explore your surroundings and collect as many as possible. Quick-time events are in the game, and their execution is sometimes vital to keeping your characters alive. They aren't that frequent, and typically only occur when you're in a high-stakes situation, like running for safety from a ghostly apparition. I don't have a problem with these, as they encourage you to stay focused and involved with the action. However, there are some certain QTEs at the end that can entirely change the outcome of the story if you mess up even a single prompt. I think that is too punishing. Throughout the game you could have made every good decision and be ruined by a single button press. One thing that does improve on the game is the addition of moments where you need to stay calm. In these moments your character is usually hiding from something, and it requires you to press a button in time with your character's heartbeat. They vary the speed of the beats, and being out of rhythm usually ends with dire consequences for your character. Like Until Dawn's keep still moments, where you had to keep your controller level, they do a great job of adding a lot of tension and pressure to the scene. I imagine that they changed it to this mechanic due to people being able to put their controller down and cheating the previous method. My first playthrough was with a group of 2 other people, and we played through using the movie night feature, where we all pick characters and we pass the controller off to the next person when it was their time to play. I thought this was a great additional feature to the game, as it made the experience more enjoyable. Heading down a corridor and getting spooked by a jump scare was better when your friend sat next to you was also cowering in fear. Furthermore, having to make a split-second decision or passing a QuickTime event felt more impactful, as you knew that killing a character meant impacting not only you, but your cohorts as well. After each chapter, each player is given a medal that summarises their playstyle, whether that be killing off the most characters, improving the most relationships, or missing the most QTEs. It's a small detail, but a welcome one. There is also a shared story co-op option, where you play online with a friend. Each player controls the character simultaneously, and must coordinate together to survive. I didn't have the chance to play this mode, so I can't comment on it. The music in the quiet moments adds a feeling of unease as you explore the Medan. It does a great job of blending in with the actions unfolding, and delivering a sense of trepidation as you turn every corner.
Need something. Something is fucking.
Furthermore, being chased by things on the ship is accompanied by a soundtrack of toe-curling, anxiety-filled music that amps up the drama by a ton.
He's here!
What's the matter, Dreamboat? Don't care about me anymore.
The music is primarily atmospheric. However, they do use a fantastic metal song called A Conversation with Death when they introduce the curator. I'm not personally a fan of metal, but I really did enjoy the song, and it did a great job of introducing his character. Additionally, sounds are used frequently in the game to add to the immersion. The sound of the bearings when you make an impactful decision. The clang of metal as you walk all over the rusty ship.
What the hell is making that sound?
The heartbeats that thump during the stay calm segments. It does a great job of supporting the atmosphere of the game, and is overall very well done. The writing of the characters is a bit of an issue. Sometimes characters will say certain things that leave you just sat there thinking, if I was in their situation, I would not be saying that right now.
What the hell? Howdy, Charlie. How's your time off?
People would have just discovered a ton of corpses, and then throw out a one-liner or a joke soon after. The voice acting is typically pretty good, but there were moments where the line delivery was a little flat, or not sounding terrified at all.
Oh no, what's that?
A lot of attention and detail has gone into making the ship look as good as it does, and the weather effects like fog and dust add a great deal of realism to the environment. Letters that you pick up are old and faded, and items on board look rusted and worn. The lighting's done well, and you can see a good amount, despite how dark a lot of the environments are. Character models are great, despite one in the prologue that looked noticeably waxy and mannequin-like. Overall, it is a good looking game. When it comes to replay value, it took me about 6 hours to complete the game in total, and I was shocked by how abrupt the ending was. I felt like there was going to be a lot more, and then suddenly we got to the end and were in disbelief that it was just going to end that quickly. I felt like the introduction was quite drawn out and long compared to the last act. I hope that later installments in the anthology take this criticism and extend the length of a single playthrough. You can go back and try and get different endings and explore other choices. However, you can't skip cutscenes, and the tension is deflated once you know the plot. This is a bit of a letdown in comparison to Until Dawn, which felt more of a complete experience. I like that they added a special features category, that allows you to view some videos that goes behind the scenes of the game, and an exploration of the horror anthology genre. Getting an insight into the game's development was interesting for me, and I'm sure for others also. Additionally, after playing through the game once, you unlock the Curator's Cut. This allows you to play through the same story as the game's theatrical cut, but from a different perspective. This typically means that you're in control of a different character during certain scenes, and gain access to previously unexplored areas and dialogue options. While it isn't a completely different story, it is interesting to play through a different pair of eyes and explore all that the game has to offer. In conclusion, I enjoyed my time playing the Dark Pictures Man of Medan, but I was left a little wanting after finishing it. I was very eager to play this game after Until Dawn, but I would say that this game isn't as good as their previous title. If you are a fan of their games and this kind of genre, I would recommend it because I think you will get enjoyment out of it, especially if you have some friends to play with. If you didn't like Until Dawn, chances are that you probably won't enjoy this one. Overall, I would give this game a 7 out of 10. If you like this video and want to show support, click the like button and hit subscribe to stay updated about my new videos. Leave a comment about your thoughts on this review or what games you want me to cover next. Thanks for watching.